These stupid Americans are screwing things up again. First they jump into World War II, then the Berlin blockade, where they had to stick their fat heads into European business again. I mean, we didn't allow them into the access to Berlin. They think they can fly their planes over the border and drop supplies off? Niet!
Berlin blockade occurred in 1949 between the Germans in East Berlin and the other countries who inhabited the city of West Berlin, which included the United States, France, Great Britain, and the Soviets. West Germany changed their currency to one that did not represent communist East Germany. The East Germans took this as an attack on them, so they, along with the Soviets, initiated a blockade of all supplies, food, gasoline, power, etc., to the western half of Berlin, which the Allied powers occupied. This initiated the Berlin Air Raid, led by the United States and Great Britain. Food and other supplies were dropped into West Berlin via airplanes. In May of 1949, the Soviets lifted the blockade and West Germany declared themselves the Federal Republic of Germany. A few months later, East Germany declared themselves the German Democratic Republic, a communist state.
Don't forget you have a meeting later with Khrushchev.
Can't I just nuke the Kremlin? That would make my life so much easier.
Sir, I think that goes against your foreign policy.
Oh, screw foreign policy. I can do whatever the fruit I want. I'm the President of the United States.
I must advise against that, sir. It really goes against any foreign policy, to be honest. You can't just nuke them for fun.
Yeah.
Hello.
I think it's important that we meet here at the Vienna conference to discuss matters facing us in Berlin.
The Vienna Conference occurred in Vienna, Austria, 1961 to discuss matters facing both countries involved in the Cold War, particularly about Berlin. One of the main issues was the great migration of East Germans leaving East Germany and moving to West Germany, simply by walking over the border or taking a bus, etc. East Germans left the eastern half of Germany to pursue political freedom and a higher standard of living in West Germany. This was a problem for both Khrushchev and the Soviets, as well as the leaders of East Germany, because they were losing the young, educated citizens of communist East Germany by the people simply going to West Germany. Between 1945 and 1961, an estimated 2.5 million people left East Germany to pursue another life in the West. The solution to this problem was simple: build a wall in between the people wanting to leave East Germany and their destination.
My wife says Gromyko looks so kind, like such a pleasant man.
Really? Some people say Gromyko looks like your Richard Nixon. I remember how young you looked. Would you like to exchange ages or split the difference? We cast the deciding vote when you beat that son of a biatch Nixon.
How?
They are clever followers. To get over moral constraints, a man must be strong and intelligent, enough to refine their conception of what human freedom is all about. Most people still measure their own freedom, or lack of freedom, in terms of how much meat, how many potatoes, or what kind of boots they can get for one ruble.
I totally agree.
Don't blame the Soviet Union then.
Later at lunch,
I wonder if that's what Napoleon was like. Do you think it's always like this?
Par for the course, Mr. President.
What are the two medals you're all wearing about?
The Lenin Peace Prizes.
I hope you get to keep them.
Khrushchev's and Kennedy's meeting comes to an end, but not before Khrushchev hands over a stack of papers to the American president, which startles a bystander, Dean Rusk, thinking that if the Soviets made those papers public, it was the signal that they were deadly serious about trying to drive the United States out of Berlin. Then, at lunch...
Oh, these are for you, by the way. I'd like to make a toast, so I know there's an immense amount of tension between us two, Mr. President, yeah. But I hope that one day we can settle these aside and you won't try to kill me in 638 ways. Things will work out, either by grace of God or an impulsive assassination.
Excuse me, what was that?
I said by the grace of God or common sense, depending on your religion.
You told me that when I was 24, I hope I can make it to the Boston Planning Commission by the time I'm 67.
Perhaps you mean the Planning Commission of the whole world?
No. Boston would be just fine.
Khrushchev took off again, saying that it was not the Soviet Union fomenting revolution around the world. The problem was the United States, always looking, got outside forces and local upheaval. Cuba was his first example.
Only a handful of people headed by Castro overthrew the Batista regime because of its oppressive nature. The president's decision to launch landing in Cuba only strengthened the revolutionary forces and Castro's own position because the people of Cuba were afraid that they would get another Batista and lose their achievements of the revolution. Castro is not a communist, but U.S. policy can dang it sure make him one.
My bad. But if Castro made his area the crackpot for dissing governments in the Western Hemisphere, that's not okay.
Yeah, you can cry about it. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah? What happens if all of a sudden our allies crash your border? How would you feel about that?
I mean,
Exactly.
As crazy as he seemed, Khrushchev had a reason to be mad. Every day, East Berliners and other East Germans were transporting to West Berlin. Some of the best and most skilled people too. Communism was dying, and Khrushchev was pissed.
I'm so angry! That airplane fell down. It's okay, because I'm angry. I'm sorry.
2 months after the Vienna Conference, work on the Berlin Wall was started by the East Germans. Physically, the wall consisted of concrete with a large strip between the wall on the West Germany side and the wall on the East Germany side. The barren middle was referred to as the death grip. Their reason it was given this name was because the strip was made so wide that if refugees tried to cross it, they would be an easy target for East German shooters to fire on. Included along the wall were guard towers, anti-vehicle trenches, and fakir beds or beds of nails. The wall was officially referred to by the East Germans as the anti-fascist protection rampart. This name was given to give East Germans the impression that West Germany still had some members of the Nazi Party in it. There was also another wall put up between West and East Germany that extended outside of Berlin. The wall which ran along East and West Germany was called the Inner German Border. It was another part of the Iron Curtain imposed by the Soviets during the time.
Okay. Alright, here's what we'll do, okay? So, as the USSR will sign the peace treaty with East Germany, and then you know what? You know what, Mr. President? We'll join the US and make sure West Berlin has their freedom and all, you know. And, but if you guys want to go to this and say bye-bye to Berlin and say hello to the war.
Simmer down, man. The U.S. cares about what's going on here. We busted our aces to get to Berlin. Yeah, I guess you guys kind of got the sucky end of the deal, but we fought our way there. We have a right to be here. Like, our national security needs Western Europe. We've had its back for 2 wars. You know what kind of stress that puts on a country? 2 wars! We're not trying to leave West Berlin right now, and we're not going to lose Europe.
Nope. Nope, this is not happening. East Germany is taking control, you hear me, Mr. President? And if there's any funny business, you know, you feel me right now? Is there any funny business? You're gonna watch out, okay?
Yeah. So what, this peace treaty means we can't get into East Berlin, or West Berlin? Pretty sure this is going against everything in the Four Allies 1945 agreement. But I mean, hey, okay, Chev. All I'm saying is the U.S. is not okay with this.
Alright, little Johnny, little Kennedy, you know, you can cry about it, do what you want, you know, start a war, get crazy, you know, oh well. All I'm saying is that USSR is signing a peace treaty by the end of this year.
She's getting real. Okay, you're not going to take away our contractual rights and give them to East Germany. The U.S. runs Western Germany. Oh yeah, like, all we do this year is, like, the world can be, like, mocking us, like, yeah, the U.S. sucks. No, U.S. is number 1. You hear me? Number 1. Just letting you know, we can destroy each other.
I know.
Alright, let me just tell you one thing. We'll be all good if you leave out the U.S. Yeah, go ahead, sign a peace treaty, real cute, do your thing, whatever. All I'm saying is the Allied occupation rights better not be messed up with this treaty.
Hey, if U.S. wants to start the war, that's their issue. Hey, you want the war or peace? It's up to you, Mr. President JFK of the high and mighty company U.S. Oh, yeah. If there's no interim agreements, bam, we're signing that treaty in December. You understand?
You got war coming your way, Mr. Khrushchev. And it's gonna be a cold winter.
Oh, you scared me, huh?
And with that, JFK concluded the conversation. One of the many reasons the Berlin Wall was built was also to get the Americans out of West Berlin. With the Berlin Wall up, along with the inner German border, non-communist West Berliners were essentially trapped behind enemy lines in West Berlin. The Soviets had hoped that this would deter people from leaving. Kennedy, on the other hand, was pleased with the wall, only because the conflict between the Americans and East Germans did not arise to a shootout, which the wall served as a solution to. Kennedy had said in a speech in July that there was no way the United States could defend the non-communist members of Germany without an embarrassing downfall as the result. He continued to say that the wall would have to become a part of international life and the United States would not challenge the wall using force.